pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Union City Community Schools Board meeting. Our meeting agenda is available for you to follow. The expectation for our board meeting is to follow this agenda closely. We operate under the Open Meetings Act and utilize Robert's Rules of Order to govern our discussion and decision-making process. There is an opportunity for public comment during our set agenda. We welcome the public to express their opinions during this time of our agenda. If there are questions about the agenda or the board meeting process, please seek out one of the board members for clarification. The first item up is our 2023-24 proposed budget amendment, and Sarah will present the proposed amendment. Oh, I'm going to move over, I think.
Okay. Yeah, the first part is just kind of.
You put it in a PDF.
An official hearing, huh?
Sorry, you can go past. I'm not going to read that part.
Okay.
It just talks about the different things that are in the budget. Same. Okay. So this is about the 2023-2024 budget amendment. I try to kind of pull out the big items of the changes in the budget. So in our state sources, we have additional funding received from MSPERS, which is our retirement offset. We get sometimes the state decides to give us extra money to help with retirement costs, which is great. That was what we received, so it was a little bit more than anticipated. We did have a reduction in the transportation grant, which just started this year. They came up with a different, better formula, which resulted in us receiving about $40,000 less than the initial formula that they used. And then I did add in a little bit of funds, like $13,000 for Section 97 security grant, and that has an offset under expenses for that purchase. And then the reimbursement for ESSER 3 expenses is also included in there. Under other financing sources, we received prior year adjustment. We received funds from, it would have been the 1920, 2020, 21 school years, which was a program that they implemented back there quite a while ago, but they came up with how they were going to give the funds out, and I think it was around April is when we received those funds. That's related to mental health and our 31N position. So at this time, we've only been paid through those years. We are supposed to get more funding, but I don't have specifics of when. So it's kind of just waiting to see, I guess, when we'll get another great gift such as that. There was also a special ed increase, and that is based on our final numbers for special ed, just changes in what was paid, if we have special ed sub costs, things like that. So that was for about $40,000 more than I initially had budgeted for. So under the instruction added needs, there was an adjustment for, I'm sorry, this is under the expense portion now. So with a special ed increase, there's also a change in our special ed costs. So that's why it's kind of almost an offset. We have an increase with a elementary teacher whose time is split between general fund and then also title. So I kind of had to move the person to the title spot. We did have an increase in class reimbursement under our pupil section. That was something that I was not initially expecting to have that there. Then there was a small change with our NWEA testing cost. And then under school admin, there was an employee who was on leave for part of the year, so we weren't paying the employee, so we did save a little bit in that area. Under operation and maintenance, we received our insurance payment for the underground pipe leak. We did receive some funding for that, but it didn't quite cover the initial, like the entire cost of everything, so that did include an increase in cost of what we had calculated. Under transportation services, we had another bus driver route that was added, so we had an increase in hiring another bus driver for that. But the good news with that is students are on the bus for less time, which I think everybody is happy with that. And then there was an increase in repair cost from the initial budget and then the amendment budget to then the final cost. Under athletics, there was an increase. One of the reasons for the increase is we had an increase with our high school official cost, and as I was explaining in the committee meeting, that cost is just going to go up because it's kind of like that throughout. Well, definitely the conference, but kind of around. That's just they kind of have like a schedule of it going up in cost, and it's partly because they can't find people, and they're trying to also keep people. So there's an increase for that. Does anybody have any questions about that information? Or you can ask me too when you see the numbers too, because that's in the next slide. Oh, sorry. This is just the revenue portion. And then this is the expenditure side. Anything anybody have questions on looking at that information?
We worked through it during the committee meeting, so I'm good.
So then the next page, it shows where our budget, or where our funding balance started for the year. Our estimated revenues, our estimated expenses, and then showing that we will have a deficit of $31,346, which leaves our new ending fund balance at $1.9 million. When I did my initial proposed budget way back in last year this time, I was projecting we would actually have a 1.5 ending fund balance. So the year definitely ended, or is expected to end better than what I had projected. So I think that's definitely good news. Okay. So then this is our proposed budget. And these are some assumptions that I've made. For the state aid, I increased the per pupil amount by $250. That's based on kind of the middle average between the governor, the House, and the Senate. It's $250. So that would mean our new per pupil cost would be $9,858 that we would get. But I also reduced our student count by 26. We have a graduating class that's a little bit higher than the other classes that are coming in, and we seem to lose students every year too, so we thought that was a good number to use for our projection. There's also some grants that are ending that we received this year. The Educators Compensation Grant, the 23G grant. We also have all the ESSER 3 money spent, which isn't that great because we've used it so well, but from somebody that's had an account for it, I'm kind of glad we're at the end of that part because it's a lot of extra work. So that's something that there's no ESSER money for this next year. We have a decrease in some of the other areas. Last year we purchased new laptops and iPads for the students, and with that we had an ECF grant that helped pay for that. So we don't have that, so there's a decrease in that, but you're going to see it on the other side that we don't have the expenditure for that as well. And then so the prior year adjustment for the 23-24 year was around 181. I did change that a little bit because I am expecting us to get some of that Care for Student grant that we received kind of in April this last year, but I don't know how much much exactly, so I kind of try to go off of what it was before, but a conservative number off of it before. So that might change, we might receive more, but I wanted to put it in there because we should get the money, so that will help with some of our programs. And then the bigger items under expenditures, like I said, I removed the purchase of laptops and iPads. We have a step increase for school employees. That would be school employees that do have steps, which would be teachers, paras, and secretaries, and cooks, which cooks are underneath this step. So then of course there's a change in retirement, FICA, and workers' comp. I did reduce one teaching position after retirement. We made the decision not to replace that position. And then there's the removal of the director of behavioral support, which we will have replacement with a mental health specialist position, but will be a lot less of a cost. And then I adjusted an elementary teaching position. They're going to be a full-time math interventionist. So what that means is we have different grants and things that we receive. So there's Title, there's At Risk, there's now 31AA, there's these different grants. So kind of trying to figure out how we can use those to work for us and take away from our general fund money so we can have that towards other things. That's like an example of adjusting an elementary teaching position. We can move that person to at-risk title, so then it's taking less from our general fund. So Chris and I were in discussion of all this, trying to make things as best we can for our students, and also that we can have funding to cover everything too. So those are hard conversations to have, but we're trying to make things work. And then of course, then there's an adjustment across the board for increase in supply cost. I can tell you that, so the end of last year, we had a lot more cost in like gas and electricity and things like that. Those things had gone up a lot. And then there was a lot more cost with maintenance and custodian supplies. I feel like this year actually was less, but if not less, at least the same. So I'm hopeful we're at the point now that we can at least stay the same, because there was quite a big increase last year with that cost. But I was very happy to see that at the end, like our gas wasn't so much more and our electricity wasn't so much more, which there will be some changes because of the changes we made with the bleachers, because we have a new bathroom, bathrooms and things that weren't on there before, but that's not going to be anything that will be detrimental. It'll just be a little bit of an increase.
You said gas, that includes diesel for the buses, right? That's the big
No,
gas.
I was actually meaning
Like natural gas?
heating.
Okay.
I was meaning like heating things. So then this first shows the revenue changes. And then this is the expenditures. Do you have any questions looking at that information? Oh gosh, you know what? I didn't include on there. One of our biggest decreases on there is we aren't purchasing new buses. I didn't put that on the PowerPoint. But that's why there's a $155,000 decrease in transportation, because we are not purchasing buses this year.
And for those of you that are curious, the buses we're still paying off are in debt service.
Yes, our first buses we purchased a few years ago now falls under the debt service, and there should be, I believe it's 2 more payments, one in October and then the next October, and then it should be done.
Yes.
Yes. So with all that information, my projected beginning fund balance of 1.9 with the revenues and expenses shows that we would be at a deficit of $91,847, which means our funding balance at the end of the 2025 year would be $1.8 million. I know that that's obviously going to change. There's grants and there's different things that come out throughout the year. So, I mean, that's what I'm projecting at this point, but it's definitely going to change. I know that as well. But
settled contracts yet.
That is true. We also don't have civil contracts. At this point, I just went by adding steps, and I kept everything else the same. Next slide. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's all in capital. It's scary.
She's yelling at us at the bottom.
Like I'm yelling at you, I'm sorry. That's not supposed to go capitalized. So the amended budget for this year is for food service. We had a big increase in our Michigan School Meals program. That was a new program we started this year. We do the CEP, which means that we offer free food for students, breakfast and lunch, which means we get a set amount and claim funds back based on that information. In addition, this year, the state passed so that they want to make sure that all Michigan schools were doing this, so they've started giving additional funds for schools to offer this program, which I can tell you has been nice, but when we get to the end, it hasn't been as nice as I thought it would be. The cost of food just keeps going up, as we all know when we go grocery shopping ourselves, and I don't think the numbers that they use to figure out what you should get per meal or per claim really works, and I'm hopeful that that will change as the program is used more. They might see that it should be adjusted. I think if they did that, then it would of course be way more beneficial for us. But that's what the additional funds is under state sources. There was a slight decrease in claims this year. And we have to keep in mind that as we lose students each year, we're also going to have less claims because there's less students to claim. So when we actually look at the percent of students getting meals at the beginning of the year to the end, that percent has increased, and that's what we want to see, is that more students are students are getting meals. So then there was an adjustment with salaries and benefits. It was a little bit higher than estimated. And the supplies and materials has a very large increase, which I put in there is largely due to an increase in food cost. And then capital outlay includes a purchase that we made, but that was completely offset. It was a grant that we applied for, which was an equipment grant, and we received the funding, so it was offset. So it's not like we really paid for all of it, which is a great thing. I did apply for the same grant for this next year to also try to get, so our goal is we're trying to do more scratch items, like it's actually made from scratch and everything, so we're trying to get things that can help with that. So that's where our goal is kids like to have stuff that's from scratch, so that's what we're trying to move towards. Now if you look at the end of our fund balance here, it is a very low number. So I did speak with Deb, our food service manager, this week, and we had a very long meeting talking about all different kinds of different things of the program, because we want to make sure that it's going to run away, and if there's changes we can make and everything. So there's lots of things that we've talked about and that we're working towards. We've talked about maybe having changes with how hours are done for cooks, or maybe how their time is used. Maybe they could do things different that could make them have to have less time that they're working. Different things that we can purchase that we can continue to use so we're not wasting food. There's lots of different areas that we're looking at to make improvements. And I am going to meet with her in October once we've had a month of some of the changes that we talked about to kind of see where the program's at, and then see what else we can change, or if something's not working, what else can be different. So then in October we can kind of get a better picture. One of the things we also talked about, which I think is important, is having support of the community, of the staff, of the board, and everybody having kids get meals. Like breakfast is a prime example that everybody can have breakfast. They have sack lunch or sack breakfast that you can grab, that you can take, and you can get some of the things you want. even if you don't want everything, you can use some of the stuff. So the way to help the program is to make sure that kids are getting what they need and having the option to get meals. So we're going to work on maybe some like advertising and kind of trying to put more stuff out there about that. Maybe some Facebook things, stuff like that, to try to just get it out to parents. And maybe parents can also try to help with the kids. And for me personally, I don't make my kids breakfast. Their breakfast is here. Like, I want them to eat this breakfast, so they don't get breakfast from me. And it's not like they're starving. I want them to eat the breakfast. And I think that that's been well. There's certain things, of course, they like better than others, but, you know, they manage and they have something that they can eat that they like. So we really want to try to get more people into that as well. Yeah, and I'm sorry that should not all be in capital letters because it does look like I'm yelling at you. So for the next year, I did put in some different things that we had kind of talked about and what we want to work towards. We want to try to get the supplies and material costs down. I think just following policies and everything we have in place for the program already can really help with that, making sure that we're not over ordering things or that we're only taking out enough food so we're not wasting things, you know, stuff like that. And then, let's see. Yeah, those are the biggest changes, I guess, that we talked about. So if we can do that, then our fund balance at the end is estimated at $21,000. I do plan on updating this more throughout the year so that you guys are a little bit more informed of where we at and where I'm thinking that we'll be. So you guys can be included in that, and if you know there's questions that come up. So if you guys could be supportive of the program too, that would be great. That's what we need. Deb's worked really hard to make a lot of improvements because it's something she is passionate about, and the problem is so much of that is restricted, that there's only so much that she can do, which makes it harder to do because most kids aren't going to be like, oh, I want wheat bread, because most kids don't like wheat bread. But it's like there's certain restrictions that we have to stay within. So we've been trying to work on having the better options so that we get more kids involved.
Do we still have a consultant working?
We do have a consultant, and we talked about that. She would like to continue working with the consultant, but we talked about maybe having it be quarterly instead of monthly, just for a few hours to kind of just touch base what's working, what's not working. I think he's brought a lot of great things here that it would be really hard to not work with him because we've made so many improvements. I don't want us to, you know, just start walking back and, you know, losing some of those things that we've done. So. Do you have any questions about all that? All right, go ahead, please. Okay, so this is our school activity accounts, which is like our clubs, the different things we have in the different buildings. Really, most of the time it's fundraising, and then the programs or the clubs using the funds to purchase things. Like it has everything in there from like our elementary music program to our baseball high school program. So that's really what that is. It's purely an estimate because I'm not for sure what extra fundraisers they might have or what extra expenses they have, but you can just know that the way it's set up is they can't just purchase and like take away all the money. They have to have money in it, and that's something the secretaries manage, and then I kind of like oversee what they've done. So, and our state borrowing loan, this year I've requested a loan of $1 million. That's $200,000 less than what we borrowed this last school year. And the main reason we borrow is just so we have cushion in between the months that first we don't have any state aid we receive in September. That kind of helps with that. But then also we have some months that we have larger expenditures, so that kind of just gives us that extra cushion. So that's the amount that I had requested this year.
That's not a line of credit then, that's just an open note.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the amount. So do you have any questions?
you, how much is the consultant then, right now, the cost per month for breakfast and the
I
meals?
wouldn't know by month. I can tell you that the ending was like $17,000,
Okay.
so that's why we had talked about pushing it back a little bit down.
Do you know how many hours?
He makes like $85 an hour. So
Okay.
if you figure that out, I don't have it with me.
Can you tell me too, like what's the breakfast options at the elementary that, from what you know? 'Cause I have ones that I'm told from the teachers, and then there's always stuff in the middle. So I like to get both.
I don't know, like, I cannot even be able to think of it right now, but a lot of times it'll be maybe like, they'll have like a breakfast bar and a juice and a milk. Like most of the time it definitely has a juice and a milk and some kind of a fruit. Maybe do you have a better idea? No? They might have like, it might be like a whole wheat Pop-Tart or, it's, so like it doesn't even have to be like their only breakfast. It could just be like, oh, they had a little bit, so now they're gonna have this, in addition to it. Yes.
So breakfast has one choice though,
Yeah.
like there's not multiple. Breakfast is what is breakfast. Breakfast you get served, so like if it's like they do have like French toast sticks, or they'll do
Yeah.
like sausage wrapped pancake type of thing. Usually when it's the heated items, there are more students that are eating than it is the cold items, but they have cereal day, there are cereal bars, they were doing, there's like a raspberry rainbow tricks yogurt, cause I stumble on it every time I have to read it, that comes in with like a muffin. Trying to think of some other options that they give them. There's a breakfast sandwich, I think they did an omelet there for a while, which is just like a folded, option. But they all come with a juice, a fruit, and milk, per standard every day. Those
It's
three
a lot of
items.
different things.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thanks, Jamie.
No, that's
Sorry.
what I wondered. I was just kind of told that they get pretty hyped up because it's a lot of carbs, and it is. Juice is pretty much pure sugar, and so's the muffins, so's the bars. They have tons and tons of sugar in it. And so the kids, they said, really are reacting from that. So that's why I wondered.
I'm sure whatever it is, it matches this,
Yeah,
It has to
like
the
be
government
our,
requirement.
yeah.
standard.
Right, right. There's
And
not
they're
a lot of
very,
nutrition.
very
It's a lot of
strict.
carbs.
Yeah, but they're very
But
strict
they're very
on
strict
what we
on the
can even
requirements
serve.
and what you
So,
can serve, and what you can't.
I mean, like for lunch, like you can't have like ketchup and ranch. Like it can only be ketchup, not ranch. Like, I mean, that's how stringent they are with the requirements.
No vitamin D milk.
What's that?
No vitamin D milk. That's bad.
No whole milk.
Back on the milk situation.
You haven't got to go.
Don't
Always
get
gotta go back to
started,
that.
Darren.
You got to pair fat with the carb. That's how it came out of the cow.
Well, thank you for all that work.
Yes.
Thank you very much. All right, next, this is the section of the meeting in which the public may make comments or share their opinions about the proposed budgets or agenda items. We ask you to limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes per person to allow others the opportunity to speak. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to your concerns. It is not board practice to act on the concerns voiced during this meeting to allow for the board to do further research. Do we have any comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the addition or deletion of items to the agenda. Do we have anything that needs to be added or taken away? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as given to us.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed the same. Motion carries. We'll move on to correspondence. Do we have any for this evening? Thank you. Next is action items. the 2023-24 budget amendment resolution. Board action is required to approve the 2023-24 budget amendment resolution as presented. I will entertain a motion for the same.
It's a resolution. Do you
Yeah, it's a resolution.
have roll call?
It is roll call, but you still have to have a motion first and a
So moved.
support.
Support.
Discussion?
This kind of covers all of it for this one and for next year, but thank you, Sarah, for having answers to the questions. Thank you for digging around and knowing what you're doing and being a master of the information, because it helps us a lot. You know, I don't get many blank stares, which I like. And I appreciate your correspondence. I know there's a lot of big numbers and some of these seem high, but I've seen a lot worse than this before. So has Amber and others. And we all fail to realize how difficult it is to plan when you get new information every day on a different grant or a different thing that you didn't know. So your ability to react, I think, is admirable. So thank you. And I appreciate the fact that we're trying to, this goes to the next one, but I'll just talk once and not talk to the next one.
That's
but
fine.
That we're trying to keep our fund balance up. We can have discussions. At one point, we had discussions forever what that number should be, but single digits is where it should not be, and I think we're in a position where we need to be, and I'm glad that we're keeping it similar to what it was. So we don't want to be in a position where we're struggling to survive, and we're making decisions, and you and Chris have made some hard ones recently, and I think that it's important, and I'm glad we're doing it. So. Whole milk.
Any other discussion? All right, Kelly, will you call the roll, please?
Mears,
Yes.
Gauchi,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Labar,
Yes.
Herman.
Yes. Move on now to the 2024-25 budget resolution. Board action is required to approve the 2024-25 budget resolution. I will entertain a motion for the same.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion.
I would like to say a couple of things about this to make sure that everybody is aware of. And in developing the budget, there were a number of places that we considered making reductions because of the wanting to maintain the fund balance. And we did reduce the number of students down because we are expecting, based on the larger number of seniors and the small number so far of incoming kindergartners, which is the trend. Our high school is our largest building. We have 3 of our 4 largest classes were in the high school last year. In 4 years, if things go the way they have, and our incoming middle school will be our high school, we will be down from 310 down to 240 in the high school, because that's what our middle school is going to be this coming year, is 240. So we're trying to manage that reduction in enrollment, and we don't know what's coming in. So a couple of things. This budget is planned on giving steps to those that get them, but there is no other increase in any wages, and contract negotiations have not been completed with any of the groups or individuals. So that all needs to be done yet in July. In the course of negotiations with each group, they agreed to wait until July until we have more information from the state on state aid. Hopefully the state will pass the budget for education this week. That's what they're supposed to do. And we will have more information. Secondly, we considered a number of places to cut. Frankly, one was the Charter Academy, because trying to figure out how we're going to pay for that position with the enrollment level that's in there when we used ESSER funds last year. So that means for this coming year it would have had to shift to general fund. Amber and Randy both know that we need to figure out a way to increase enrollment in that program. I believe she had, last I knew, 8 students projected for this fall. And but for the upcoming year, Sarah figured out a way to shift money from in at-risk funding to cover Randy's position And so it's now covered out of at-risk funds. That was partly because of the reduction we made in the administrative position. We were able to make changes, shifts in that funding to other positions and then move at-risk funding over. So we didn't have to make that reduction. We also thought about and talked about quite a bit our current second grade, which next year will be third grade. They have roughly 77, 78 students. Normally, we would switch that to be 3 sections. Roughly 26, 27 kids in a class at third grade. However, with this particular class, that would be a difficult change to make with this group of students. And everybody, and believe me, I heard from just about everybody in the elementary, and I've heard from parents of students in that grade level, the desire and the need to keep it at 4 sections. So this budget does include 4 sections down there. Another place that we looked at was 5th grade, which has, last I knew, 58 students. Is that right still? But we believe it's possible that number might go down this fall. It's also possible it might go up. But for the time being, we're planning on not replacing Mr. Iyer and going with 2 sections of 5th grade, which will mean some adjustments for staff. But we are cognizant of the fact that when school starts this fall, if we have 5, 6, 7 additional 5th graders come in, that we might need to look at adding a section back there. So that is a very borderline situation for us. But that's one of the cuts we made, which allowed the budget to be where it is. And I wanted you to be aware of that now, so if I come back in August and say we need to add a 5th grade teacher, you'll understand where that was coming from. So, there's still a lot up in the air. State aid, enrollment, contracts, a tremendous amount in the air. But this gives us a good place to start from with this budget.
Any other discussion? Kelly, can you please call the roll?
Gauchi,
Here.
Labar,
Yes.
Mears,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Herman.
Yes. Next, we'll move on to the 2024-25 resolution authorizing issuance of notes in anticipation of state school aid. And board action is required to approve the state aid borrowing resolution for the 24-25 school year as presented, and I would entertain a motion for the same.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Kelly, can you please call the roll?
Labar,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Mears,
Yes.
Gauchi,
Yes.
Herman.
Yes. Thank you. We'll move on now to administrator contract. Board action is required to approve the contract for our new elementary principal, Michael Bates. I would entertain a motion for the same.
Support.
But she said-
Discussion?
She said something.
Did
Oh.
you give it to her?
I had Paula and then Jen.
Not Paul, I like sneeze or something. I didn't hear.
Snuck it right under my nose.
Any discussion on this one? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same, and that motion carries. Next is discussion item, Neola Volume 38.2.
First reading.
He snuck it in.
Yippee.
Snuck it in the off-schedule meeting so we could approve it next time.
Yeah. We're late getting to this one, so a little bit.
All right, next is public comment. This is a section of the meeting in which the public may make comments or share their opinions about Union City Community Schools. We ask you to limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes per person to allow others the opportunity to speak. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to your concerns. It is not board practice to act on the concerns voiced during this meeting to allow for the board to do further research. Are there any comments for this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to board roundtable. Does anyone have anything they would like to discuss? Crickets. We're moving on. Adjournment. This, I'll,
Like, you're gonna leave, when are you gonna be gone? You're gone next month.
August. August. I will not be at the August meeting
Oh.
for sure.
I'll prepare for that one.
September.
Yeah, September will be, I don't know, depend on how good.
Oh, I know, September
It
gonna be
goes.
here. Just
And then October is also uncertain, but I'm hopeful.
Raise the pay for the vice president that steps in for the president.
No,
Got to.
We didn't.
Jeez.
we did not.
Oh.
Sorry.
So what did I miss?
I'm getting both hips replaced, or not hips, knees
I was saying,
replaced.
what?
Sorry, I misspoke.
One
Both
at
of
a
them.
time. One,
One.
6 weeks later, the other one.
First one August 13th, second
Doesn't sound
one
fun to me.
No.
September 24th.
She would like someone else to run the meeting and she asked if you would do it.
I'm bone on bone, and I'm looking forward to getting that taken care of. So.
She actually talks a lot. I had the same opinion until about 2 weeks ago. That's what I did.
So many people bluffed.
All right, so we move on now to adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Sport.
Discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same, and that motion carries. We are complete, and thank you very much.